welcome to Makai-World Reviews. It is I, the Tona Makai, Master of Minds and of Men. You're back to hear about what I have to offer this month, which is prison movies. We're only 2 weeks in and I have cheated already, as this isn't just a prison movie, it's a prison break movie with a shockingly all-star cast. A movie I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, and one I have not revisited in a long time, as we look at Con Air. I couldn't resist adding this one to the month, as I just wanted to see how I felt about it after years of not seeing it on anything but the USA Network in the early noughts. So go ahead and hit subscribe, and let's escape to the review. Con Air, directed by Simon West, man who sticks to his goofy action formula with movies like the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider, the first The Expendables, etc. But also inexplicably did the remake of When a Stranger Calls. He is a director, I can certainly say that. Written by Scott Rosenberg, this guy's writing credits are all over the place, from Con Air to the movie adaptations of the novel High Fidelity and Philip K. Dick short story Imposter. Then he does stuff like Kangaroo Jack, then Jumanji and Venom. I don't know, some high highs and low lows here. Starring Nicolas Cage, man I don't think I've gotten to talk about, a polarizing yet highly entertaining figure to me. Personally, from Raising Arizona and Wild at Heart to Pig and The Color Out of Space, I think he has incredible range and is a highly underrated actor that has marred some of his legacy with the fact he had to take some films he didn't want to take for his huge debt that he had. And also some general missteps in roles. A guy that I think is honestly killing it now more than he ever was in his career. And John Malkovich, one of my favorites, multi-talented, highly suspicious looking, and all-around fun. John has been in movies like Of Mice and Men, Mary Riley, was the center of Being John Malkovich, shockingly enough, and on and on. He doesn't always do movies I care about, but I can't ever say I've ever seen him in something he wasn't good in. Release date for this was June 6, 1997. What came out the same week? Buddy, a tepid film starring Rene Russo, who hangs out with an ape that is her friend, and is some of the worst work ever done by Jim Henson Studios. Dane Cook has a cameo in this, just so you all know. Amnesia, a movie so good it doesn't even have a wiki, starring Nicholas Walker, who used to do soap operas and probably should have stayed in them, who gets into a world of what they might call intrigue when he cheats on his wife. Yeah, a passer. I also would like to say this same month, what came out was Speed 2 Cruise Control, Batman and Robin, and Face Off. Good God. U.S. Army Ranger Cameron Poe goes to jail for frankly stupid reasons, getting into a fight and a guy getting killed as if it was his fault, missing on the first 7 years of his daughter's life. But eventually he's paroled, and for some reason this requires him to be flown to a different location, along with sidekick Baby O, a diabetic who is getting transferred to another prison. This is where we get the crux of the story, the Con Air, as it were, as the plane he is on has a collection of hardened criminals like Mastermind Cyrus the Virus, Black Supremacist Diamond Dog, Rapist Johnny 23, and others like Billy Bedlam and his ilk. Also on the flight is a DEA agent undercover there to talk to a cartel member they are going to be picking up sometime later. But thanks to the machinations of the cartel, and with Cyrus leading the bad guys, they take over the plane. The DEA agent is killed, and when they arrive at the next stop, the criminals impersonate the police, get the cartel member, along with an inmate who knows how to fly a plane, and a Hannibal Lecter type in Garland Green, who will be used for comedy purposes for here on out. For some reason, Poe isn't going to stand for this, especially since Baby O is dying because he didn't get his insulin, and he is going to save everyone, with the help of the U.S. Marshals on the ground, who are alerted thanks to Poe writing the criminals' plans on Dave Chappelle's dead body and dropping it on Twin Peaks character Garland Briggs' car. This leads to a showdown in an airfield where the cartel member is killed after a betrayal along with other criminals, and a plane flight that ends with the bad guys crashing on the Las Vegas Strip. But that's not all for Cyrus, who steals a fire engine for another extended fight until he is killed in a hilarious fashion, as was the style at the time in Hollywood. Poe is united with his wife and daughter, who he embraces in an odd scene despite the fact that he is covered in blood. Let's start with the directing and cine. This is a very late 90s looking film, and that's not in a good way. Cinematography is all stylized and frankly really bland looking. It has these odd set pieces that are overly bright and often confusing. The airfield where the police battle takes place doesn't make any sense, among many other things. It just looks like Hollywood. It's glossy, loud, and silly, and honestly the directing really reflects this. It's a dumb action film, which is fine. I like plenty of them, and there are absolutely some positives which I will be talking about, such as some humor, acting, and moments that landed, but it isn't done in a particularly good, notable, memorable, or entirely competent way. Though I want to say the scene where the plane crashed into the Hard Rock Cafe hotel or whatever looked really good. There were some practical effects that were nice, though slightly overused. The absolute best part of the film is the great collection of actors we have in this. This might be the best collection of actors for the worst usage of them I've ever seen. Starting with Steve Buscemi, I want to say Steve's Garland Green, the Marietta murderer, an almost clever take on the Hannibal Lecter troupe. Steve is really easily the winner of this movie as he stands out in every single scene he's in, which smartly isn't too much, as overusing this character would have been a negative. But he is a timid and intelligent character, and everyone is wary of him due to his 30-plus murderers. He has words of wisdom he dispenses, like a joke about people partying on a plane, listening to Leonard Skinner, a band who was ended in a plane crash. We also get a moment of subversion where he thinks, we think he's going to kill a little girl, but she warms his heart and is sad to see him go. He also escapes at the end, which they paint as a positive, but he's killed over 30 people, so I don't know. Moving to John Malkovich, another winner here, as expected, as John always gives an excellent portrayal. His Cyrus chews the scenery a bit and does devolve into a very silly villain by the end, but for the most part he retains a scary, conniving, and in-charge air that is absolutely about as believable as you're going to get from a movie like this. Also, Ving Rhames, John Cusack, Danny Trejo, Cole Meany, and Dave Chappelle all did a pretty damn good job in their respective roles. Dave stands out for a comedy perspective, obviously, with him being a crackhead who burns another prisoner who is native, with him shouting, "The last Mohican is burning," and that line just cracks me up. Though there is a car subplot between Cusack and Colm that I did enjoy, and it felt like padding. Moving to Nicolas Cage, the absolute worst part acting-wise of this movie. He plays a hulking southern man of action, which is neither hulking, his action scenes are mediocre, and judging by his accent, he's never been in the South. They even give him this little theme when he gets off the bus that it's just too much. We don't really know why he cares so much about any of this when he is set to literally be released, except because I'm a good guy. The thing with Baby O, that character feels like a token black sidekick, and a shifty reason for Poe to do anything he does. It's not a character I understand, appreciate, or respect. I did have my heartstrings pulled with some of the daughter moments because I have a daughter and it was cheap heat. But yeah, this was poor Cage. And honestly, it felt like he phoned this one in at best, especially with the cast around him. There's this moment he comes back from Desert Storm. He's at the bar. The guy he's going to fight. I don't know if it's the one he kills, but he looks like one of the Baldwins. Says, because the pussies like you, we lost Vietnam. He would have been too young to fight in Nam. I know the point was that Poe is a pussy, but it doesn't make a ton of sense. Movie is also, it's fucking long, and it feels like it. It's almost 2 hours. For an action film, they put so much padding into it. And the last 20 minutes or so are such a mess of convoluted nonsense that it was hard to explain what happened. A movie like this doesn't need to be any longer than 90 minutes, at best. And just all the stuff with Johnny 23 and the cop lady, all the cartel stuff that didn't go anywhere because the guy dies and they never expand on what they're going to do after that. The long plane shootout, the fire engine chase scene, the car subplot, the manufactured DEA, U.S. Marshals, distrust. I mean, frankly, the issue between the two groups is mute because the whole thing would be an FAA issue. It just keeps going on and on, much like myself. As far as the soundtrack goes, the soundtrack is not only generic, it's loud, like it blares over the sound of the plane and people yelling, and I don't know why, because it all sounds like something they got for free. The cues are so blatant. Here is how to feel, just in case you've never seen a film, or maybe you have trouble understanding emotion. It's not good. Overall, I ragged on this movie quite a bit, and rightfully so. It's incredibly stupid, overly long, needlessly dramatic, and so Hollywood it hurts. But honestly, it's kind of fun. It's definitely a movie to watch with friends, with some drinks, many drinks. You'll need them by the second or third time you think the movie's going to end. So yeah, fun, stupid, but shockingly competently acted. Well, that was Con Air, a movie about convicts in the air, and it gave us just that. What convict do you think would be a good pilot? D.B. Cooper, maybe? Let me know down below. I'll subscribe. Do that first, of course. Add me on the Instagrams under Demon Peaks for Twin Peaks memes. Check my Patreon where you can help me live for as little as $1. Come back next week where I'll be looking at another prison movie in Stir Crazy. And finally, for me, Daytona Makai, Master of Minds and Men. Have a good day, a good week, and take care of yourself. Goodbye.